Hello everybody. If you want to read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 700. The Cheeky Invisible Man. Intermediate. In the busy streets of London, there lived a cheeky fellow named Bert. One rainy afternoon, Bert found an old bottle in his attic. The label said Invisibility Potion. Drink at your own risk. Being the curious type, Bert gulped it down. Suddenly, poof! He looked in the mirror and saw nothing. Blimey, he exclaimed. I'm invisible. This is going to be brilliant. Bert dashed out the door, giggling like a schoolboy. His first stop was the local pub, the Jolly Fox. It was packed with punters enjoying their pints. Bert sneaked behind the bar and started swapping drinks. Old Mr. Jenkins took a sip of what he thought was his bitter ale, but it was fizzy lemonade. What the devil? He spluttered, spraying foam everywhere. The barman scratched his head, blaming a faulty tap. Bert whispered in a customer's ear, "Your flies are undone." The man jumped up, checking his trousers, while everyone stared. Bert howled with laughter, but no one could see him. Feeling bolder, Bert headed to the high street. He spotted the posh lady walking her fluffy poodle. With a sneaky tug, he untied the dog's lead. The poodle bolted off, chasing a pigeon, and the lady chased after it, yelling, "Come back, precious!" Bert then moved to a fruit stall, juggling apples in mid-air. Shoppers gasped, thinking it was magic. "Ghosts!" one woman screamed, dropping her bags. Bert pinched a banana and ate it right there, the peel floating as if by itself. "This is too easy," he chuckled. But Bert's cheekiness escalated. He slipped into a fancy restaurant during dinner hour. A couple was on a romantic date. Bert leaned over and blew on the woman's soup, making it splash onto her dress. "Oh no!" she cried. Then he tied the man's shoelaces together under the table. When the man stood to help, he tripped flat on his face, landing in a bowl of spaghetti. The whole place erupted in chaos, waiters slipping, food flying. Bert was in stitches, invisible tears rolling down his cheeks. Next, Bert gate-crashed a wedding at the town hall. The bride and groom were saying their vows when Bert started rearranging the flowers. Petals floated like confetti too early. He whispered silly suggestions to the vicar. "Do you take this man to be your awful wedded husband?" The vicar blinked, confused, and repeated it by mistake. The guests roared with laughter, thinking it was a joke. Bert even danced with the bride during the first waltz, spinning her around until she dizzied. "Who's leading?" she gasped. By evening, Bert was exhausted from his antics, but craved one last prank. He sneaked into the mayor's office during a big meeting. Important folks in suits discussed taxes and traffic. Bert grabbed the mayor's wig, yes, it was a secret toupee, and plonked it on the table like a hat. "My hair!" the mayor yelped, patting his bald head. Papers flew as Bert shuffled them, and he drew moustaches on the whiteboard, portraits with an invisible marker. The room turned into a circus with everyone blaming each other. Finally, Bert returned home, still invisible and smug. But as he reached for the antidote bottle, labelled Visibility Restore, he knocked it over. The liquid spilled everywhere, soaking his clothes. Slowly, Bert reappeared, stark naked. He'd forgotten he'd stripped to avoid visible clothes earlier. Panicking, he grabbed a towel just as his neighbour knocked. "Bert, you all right? Heard strange noises." From that day, Bert swore off potions. He became visible again, but with a reputation for odd behaviour. The city whispered about the ghost that vanished, but Bert just smiled cheekily. Some things are better seen than unseen, he thought, and he lived happily, if a bit more cautiously, ever after. Vocabulary notes. Cheeky, meaning behaving in a way that is rude or disrespectful, but in a playful or amusing manner, often bold and mischievous without being truly harmful. Example, in the busy streets of London, there lived a cheeky fellow named Bert. Here, cheeky describes Bert's personality as fun-loving and prone to naughty tricks, like when he whispers in a customer's ear at the pub. Similar words: impudent, boldly rude; saucy, playfully disrespectful. Cheeky can also be similar to naughty or mischievous in informal contexts. Blimey, meaning an informal British exclamation used to express surprise, shock, or excitement. It's a mild swear word short for God blind me, but now used casually without religious meaning. Example, "Blimey," he exclaimed, "I'm invisible. This is going to be brilliant." Bert says this when he realizes the potion worked, showing his astonishment in a typical British slang way. Similar words: crikey, another British surprise exclamation; gosh, a milder, more polite version; or wow, in everyday speech for expressing amazement. Spluttered, meaning to speak or make sounds in a sudden, explosive way, often while choking or spitting out liquid. It suggests confusion or anger mixed with physical reaction. Example, old Mr. Jenkins took a sip of what he thought was his bitter ale, but it was fizzy lemonade. "What the devil?" he spluttered, spraying foam everywhere. This shows Mr. Jenkins reacting messily to the unexpected drink switch. Similar words: sputtered, similar explosive speech; stammered, speaking with hesitation or repetition; or choked when referring to a physical cough or spit. Posh, meaning describing someone or something that is elegant, upper class, or stylish in a sophisticated way, often used in British English to imply wealth or refinement. Example, he spotted a posh lady walking her fluffy poodle. The word posh highlights the woman's fancy appearance and her choice of a pampered dog, contrasting with Bert's cheeky behavior. Similar words: elegant, graceful and stylish; upscale, high class or luxurious; or fancy in a casual talk for something refined. Gatecrashed, meaning to attend a party or event without an invitation, often by sneaking in uninvited. It implies boldness or intrusion in a social setting. Example, next, Bert gatecrashed a wedding at the town hall. Bert enters the wedding uninvited to play pranks like whispering to the vicar, showing his invisible advantage for mischief. Similar words: crashed, informal for entering uninvited; intruded, entering without permission; or barged in for forcefully joining an event. Story written by Grok 4 AI. Image created by Grok 4 AI. To read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a really fun short story, The Cheeky Invisible Man. Our plan is to follow the main character, Bert, and his, escalating series of pranks across London. We'll use it to pull out some key cultural and linguistic insights for you.
Exactly. It's a great narrative vehicle. We track Bert from the moment he finds this invisibility potion in his attic. He takes a sip, and right away you get this brilliant bit of British slang. He says, "Blimey, I'm invisible."
Blimey. Right there, it sets the scene, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That classic informal British surprise. And it fits Bert perfectly. The story keeps calling him a cheeky feller.
Yes, and cheeky is such a key term here. It's not just being naughty or rude. It's more, playful. The notes define it as behaving in a playful, mischievous, or sort of impudent way, but crucially without being truly harmful, often quite affectionate, actually.
Right, like his first prank. It happens in the Jolly Fox pub. Seems pretty harmless fun. He swaps old Mr. Jenkins' pint of bitter ale for fizzy lemonade.
You can just picture it. Which naturally caused Mr. Jenkins to splutter. And spluttering is, when you speak sort of explosively, maybe spitting out liquid because you weren't expecting it. A perfect description.
Definitely paints a picture. But that was just the beginning, wasn't it? He didn't stop there. The pranks start to kind of escalate. He heads out to the high street.
Mm-hmm. And his target changes slightly. He goes after a posh lady, as the text puts it. She's walking her poodle, and, well, Bert decides to have some invisible fun. Unties the lead, I think, dog bolts.
Chaos. And posh, this is another good one for context, what does that signal typically?
Well, in British English, posh usually means elegant, upper class, stylish, often carries an implication of wealth. So you see Bert's mischief maybe getting a bit pointed, targeting someone different from old Mr. Jenkins in the pub.
He's definitely getting bolder. There are other pranks blowing on soup in a fancy restaurant, tying shoelaces together, causing a spaghetti incident, apparently. But then he really ups the ante. He decides to gate crash a wedding.
Gate crash. Yeah, that's a great word. Simply means to attend an event, like a party or a wedding, completely uninvited. He just shows up, invisible, starts rearranging flowers, whispering things, pure mischief.
But the peak, the absolute peak of his audacity has to be the mayor's office. That's where it gets really interesting.
It does, because he moves from just being a nuisance to, well, arguably sabotage. He sneaks into this important political meeting.
And does what?
Gets hold of the mayor's secret toupee, imagine, and then starts drawing caricatures on the whiteboard portraits of the council members.
Oh, wow. So not just funny, but creating actual conflict.
Exactly. That's the key point the sources make. His invisibility isn't just for laughs anymore. He uses it to cause confusion, make everyone blame each other. It connects his unseen actions to uncovering hidden knowledge, the toupee itself being a secret.
But, as always happens, chaos tends to boomerang. Bert gets home, probably feeling quite pleased with himself.
Yeah.
And then disaster. He knocks over the antidote, the visibility restored.
Soaks himself in it, and slowly he starts to reappear.
Completely stark naked.
Stark naked. Just as his neighbor, Mrs. Higgins, I think it was, knocks on the door.
The ultimate embarrassment.
It really is. And that's the story's turning point, the moral, if you like. Bert learns his lesson. The sources say he became much more cautious after that. He realized that power, whether it's invisibility or maybe even hidden information, it can have really big unintended consequences if you're reckless. Some things perhaps are better seen than unseen.
So, a cautionary tale wrapped in cheekiness. Bert learned the hard way about the limits of unseen power, which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to sort of chew on. Considering Bert's downfall, what knowledge or maybe even what prank do you think is actually more powerful when it stays hidden, when it remains unseen? Something to think about until our next deep dive.